also known as hibiscus. And this is part of a larger series called Soul Food Genius, which we'll talk about later. But first, we want to introduce ourselves, and then we'll invite you to introduce yourselves in the chat in just a second. So, one of the things I like to do when I'm teaching always is to introduce who I am, why I'm qualified to teach, and what's my agenda. So, I'm Justin Robinson. I Why I'm qualified to teach. I'm an ethnobotanist. Ethnobotanist is somebody who studies how people use plants. I'm also a chef and cook. I used to own a catering company. And my agenda for this, sort of always my agenda, is to have Black people have easier and better, healthful, more nutritious lives. And so that's what I'm after. And this is a part of that experience. So I'll turn it over to Asia to introduce herself.
Welcome, everybody. It is so cool to see you here. Thanks for coming to Red Drink. I am the second part of this beautiful pair. I am a traditionally apprenticed root worker in the wise woman tradition. And I am a nutritional therapist. You should know that my formal studies in nutrition were at NYU, and I studied global public health in Accra, Ghana. But the most important parts of my studies were all of the apprenticeships that I had with wise women all across the globe, from India to New Zealand, where I was able to discern that there was a pattern language. There was a synergy. There were simple ways of being and doing that was so remarkably familiar across culture that they began to form a pattern language that really helped me to understand some of the core and foundational principles of nutrition, not based off of the science that I had studied in school, but the living cultures that we are able to observe from our own ancestors. And so my objective here is to bring you into some of this cultural awareness and give you access to a way of thinking and being, not just around soul food, but around all food. And so thank you so much for coming and being with Justin and I today, and allowing us to serve you some of the things that bring us the most joy. Um, and so now we're gonna move into our chat space. I would love to hear who you are. Some familiar faces I see. What's up? Um, And some folks are new. So tell us who you are, where you're coming in from, and what you would like to get out of this experience with us today. And you can type that into the chat. Hi, Stacy. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Okay. So the chat prompt is who you are, where you're from, where you're coming to us from, and what do you want to get out of our experience here tonight? What are you hoping to gain, or hoping to learn, or hoping to explore, think about?
And I see that folks are typing. And so I'm also going to call on folks just to get voices in the room. Karina. Blessings. Hi, y'all. Hi, Justin.
Hey,
Um,
Karina.
I'm happy to be here. I am tuning in from um, the land of the Tongva people, aka Los Angeles, California. And I got to help out with Soul Food Genius last year. So it's nice to be able to sit in as a student. So I'm excited to continue my learning journey and just to be in community with you all, but especially with Justin and Asia, my best friend. Love you. Okay, bye. Okay, love you. Bye. We also got Mama Courtney. Mama Courtney is from Detroit. What? And she wants to learn more about information on how to make kombucha using African herbs and recipes and mixes. Ooh, does Mama Courtney know that I'm fermentasia? I'm curious because I have fermentation. There's some fermentation advice in here with the Zobo recipe. So I'm
Oh, snap. I'm ready to learn.
okay, Mama Courtney, we got you. Okay. So Ashea, did I say that right?
Close. A Shia.
Shit.
Ashea. Okay, they and she coming in from Oakland, an eco writer, poet, writing about the Black diaspora and relationship to plants and the more than humans. And you just love stuff like this and want to connect with others who are aligned similarly. Well, you are here. You are welcome. And thank you, Ashia. India. All right, Ian from Omaha. Okay, but came from Indianapolis. Big fan of the Petty Herbalist podcast. Okay. And sewing up some fun. Angela's from Michigan, hoping to gain knowledge about the genius of plants and culture. Nico is from Philly, interested in holistic practices with the intersection of Black culture. Lillian, okay, is from Seattle and she's looking to expand cooking and eating knowledge. Stacy is from Philly. Okay. Infatuated with wet drinks and wants to learn more. Yeah, I think you'll like this new recipe, Stacy. It's gonna be really good. Jerome, okay. Um is coming in from North Carolina. Okay, looking for community knowledge and a way about plants. Jaden is from the ancestral lands of the Tongva, Long Beach, loves red drink. Bree is from Detroit, is interested in plant healing. Sierra is from Virginia, but living in Denver. Love to see it. And interested in gut health and herbalism. And Dr. Elizabeth is from North Carolina and been waiting for Soul Food Genius to open back up. Family doctor studying herbalism. Beautiful, y'all.
Mm.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, for putting your business into the space. And we hope that we can deliver all the things and so much more. Um, and so we are gonna move into red drinks. All right, Justin.
Okay. So there's a bunch of red drinks in the world. And we'll talk more specifically about hibiscus in a moment, but I want to give us the starting point from which a lot of us may have started. And that is that the quintessential black red drink, or at least the African American red drink, which is Kool-Aid. Now, if you had asked me or asked my sister what the best flavor of Kool-Aid is, we always say the same thing, invariably red. Not fruit punch, not whatever. It's always red. If it's not red, we don't want it. Okay. So, like lots of people, I grew up having Kool-Aid. My mom didn't like us to drink it too much because it, had so much sugar in it, or you needed so much sugar to make it. So we had it very infrequently. But when we did have it, it was always red. And if she would buy all kinds of other flavors, which I don't understand why she would. And they would always sit at the bottom of the drawer because we didn't want those. Who wants lemon lime Kool-Aid? Nobody. Nobody. We wanted the red one. If it was red, we would drink it. We didn't care what color the package was, if it said strawberry or fruit punch or whatever. As long as it was red, that was okay with us. I also grew up drinking a lot of cherry. drinks growing up, cherry flavored sodas. Whoops, hold on. Sort of having a little disaster here. I grew up drinking cherry flavored sodas where I grew up. So anything that was red, anything that was dark red in color, I was going to drink. Okay. So there's that. And then there's, of course, the other red drinks that are like that. So think about Hawaiian Punch, which is also bright red. There are lots of different flavors of Hawaiian Punch, but there are many flavors. Most of the flavors are this sort of bright red color. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the history of Kool-Aid and why we might be so attached to it. Okay, so the Kool-Aid starts off, strangely enough, in Nebraska. Of all the places that Kool-Aid could have started, it starts in Nebraska. And it started by he's sort of somebody who worked at a dry goods store. And he wanted to figure out how to make and sell stuff. This is a white man named Edwin Perkins. And so he started making these soft drinks. And so he kept losing too much money making soft drinks. So he decided to see if he could powder the flavors so that he could sell it later. Okay, which he did. And this is how we get Kool-Aid, right? So he sold the original soft drink was called Fruit Snack. Which is a weird name for a drink, but that's what it was called. But then he powdered the ingredients and then sold the powdered packages at a relatively discounted price. Okay, something like about 5 cents per package. Just as a point of reference, a Coke at that time was about 6 cents and a Pepsi was 10 cents. Right, so one individual bottle was between 6 and 10 cents for Coke and Pepsi. So this was a cheaper alternative to soft drinks because one package could make, I don't know, 2 quarts or something. I don't remember what the ratio is. So this was a very, very cheap way to make that. So then we also have Hawaiian Punch, which sort of comes around at the same time in the 1930s, which is originally like a ice cream syrup that they made. And so they made it with all these fruits that they were getting from Hawaii in California. So this Hawaiian Punch comes from California. And so they were making it with guava, pineapple, passion fruit, orange juice, and papaya. All those things mixed together. Okay. Now, neither one of those things in of itself says Black people. There's nothing inherently about those things that says why we would drink them. Okay. However, there is a larger pattern language as to why we would drink drinks of this color. Okay. I'm not sure what so I also am interested for you as you're thinking about this in the chat to put in your sort of favorite red drinks that you might have grown up drinking or that you still enjoy now, because I want to be able to see if there's a larger pattern that is happening about why we might like and be so attracted to these red drinks. Okay, because this is not necessarily common in other places in the world. If you go to France, I can't think of any red drinks that people are drinking besides wine, maybe. And that's not really appealing to most folks, right? Or not everybody anyway. So we're thinking about our red drinks that we like. So put it in the chat. What are the red drinks that you enjoy drinking now? Oh, somebody said not Faygo. Strawberry Fanta, cheer wines. Yep. Yep. Jamaica. Tahitian treat. That's what we called it. I know it's called Tahitian treat, but we called it Tahitian treat. Cheer wine. Yep. And so then the question is, what is it about this color, right, that we seem to be attracted to? I know I'm not fake, but we seem to be attracted to the red color. Okay. And Asia, will you move on to the next slide? I think we maybe can answer the question. Red Mountain Dew got some play. That's funny. One thing I will say is that Kool-Aid spends about 20% of its marketing budget on African Americans. 20%. Okay, and that'll be important in a minute. Okay, that'll be important for in a minute. So now let's talk about how this connects this larger understanding. So hibiscus is a plant that is native to the arid parts of Africa, pretty much from Egypt all the way into Chad, into Mali, down into Cameroon, and basically where it's arid, more or less. That's where you'll find. That is where you'll find hibiscus. Is the plant that likes it relatively dry and hot. This will become important as to why we choose to take it as we take it. Okay, so historically, this plant has been called all kinds of things. And if you saw a video that I made on hibiscus earlier, you'll see all the different names and titles that there are for hibiscus, right? Some people call it Jamaica, some people call it sorrel, some people call it bissap, some people call it carcady, which is what they call it in Egypt. Lots and lots of names for the same plant, okay? So how is the plant used? So the plant is basically used in the drink form, mostly are the calyces or calyces or the calyx, which is the unopened flowers. Okay, before the flowers open up and make themselves available for pollination, we take those from the plant and we dry them. And that is the part that makes the quote unquote tea. So, traditional, green tea, black tea, those things are made from leaves. This tea is made from flowers. Okay, unopened flowers, essentially. Those parts are called calyces. So it's basically the flower bud that is not yet opened. Okay, so when you go to harvest hibiscus, you are pulling off the unopened flower bud, right, called the calyx or the calyces. Okay, so anywhere where we find it being arid enough to grow, we're going to find hibiscus in its many different forms and many different names. This is related to okra. It is related to okra. And I'll tell you a funny little story about how I ate hibiscus leaf for the first time. It's also sometimes called sour. So I was at the farm where I live, and I wanted to make okra leaf soup. Now, even I'm a botanist and I know plants well, and sometimes even I get confused. And so I went out and went to pick the okra leaves, and I picked enough of them. I was like, wow, these are unusually smooth. These look really easy to pick. And somebody came out like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm picking okra leaves. They're like, that's hibiscus. And I was like, oh yeah, so it is. But I knew that you can eat hibiscus leaves too. So I made hibiscus leaf soup, right? Which is a Hausa dish for people of northern Nigeria, northern Ghana, and Ivory Coast, and a great many places in West Africa. So I made a dish called mignon talche out of the sorrel leaves or out of the hibiscus leaves. So not only are the flower petals, the unopened calyces used to make our drink that we like so much, and you also eat the leaves. Okay, very common. Basically, almost all of our ancestors who come from West Africa drank some version of this. Almost all of our West African ancestors drank some version of the hibiscus tea. It can be made with any number of things. It can be made with mint. It can be spicy. It can be sweet. It can be any combination of things just about that you want it to be. Or there are many different preparations for it, rather. But our ancestors knew and remembered this drink from ancient times, which is when we go back to our predisposition, if you will, to drink red drinks like Kool-Aid, like red Kool-Aid more specifically, and Hawaiian Punch, and red Faygo, and Cheerwine, and the other drinks, Fanta. It is that we are hearkening back to the color of the old thing that we know is healthful for us to drink. Right? This is an embedded ancestral memory, so that when we see the color, right, we are reminded, oh yeah, I need to drink red things. Now, here in the States, for the most part, we do not have access to hibiscus for the most part for most of our history here. But what was preserved was the desire for the color. That is what was preserved. So our eyes and our minds and our palates are already primed to take in things that are red and are that take in drinks that are red. But remember, in the United States, we didn't have access to the actual thing we're actually after. And so these other things are available to us, especially something like Kool-Aid, which is like the color, harkens to the color, harkens to the experience, and is also cheap, right? You start to put these things together and we start to see that we are doing something that we may not even be realizing that we are doing. And one of the things I said this a little bit earlier, and I said we come back to it, is that 20% of Kool-Aid's marketing budget is spent on African Americans. That is now we're not 20% of the population, okay, but 20% of their marketing budget is spent on us, and partially is because I think that they have realized that we are not even susceptible, but we are primed to take in things that look like this. Okay. And I was telling Asia last night as we were going over this, is basically they have learned just enough about us to be able to exploit us. Just enough to be able to exploit us in this kind of a way. Okay. Let's see our next slide. Working hibiscus. And I'll say one thing. There's a quote from a Jola man named Daniel Jatta, who basically what I know him for anyway is that he helped American scholars figure out the origin of the banjo, which is the Jola people of the Casamance region. But he said, as he was beholding other people play the banjo, because his father played it back home in the Gambia, he said, if something is stolen from you, no matter how much it's been changed or how much it's been transformed, you will always recognize it.
Mm.
And so something about that quote has stuck with me for a long time. I heard that maybe 15, 20 years ago. And when we see these red drinks, we recognize them. We recognize them as being part of who we are and being necessary for our health and being a necessary part of who we are. And Kool-Aid, Hawaiian Punch, and the rest of the litany of other red drinks that are on the commercial market for us to buy now we are drawn to those things. And my suspicion is my thesis is that we are drawn to them because of this old association with hibiscus.
Yeah. I mean, we have documents from the 1800s that show that some of the celebration drinks that African Americans were making were lemonade with sumac berries and strawberries. So enslaved folks have been continuously attempting to recreate hibiscus, specifically by centering both the sour flavor, which we're going to get into, but also we're thinking about vitamin C, knowing that there's something that we miss from home and trying to recreate it. But one of the things that I love the most about what it is to be a part of a global alliance, right? That's connected by this one powerful plant is that sometimes when we are lost, other people can help us find our way back home. And so I'm out here in Colorado, the Cheyenne, Ute, and Arapaho territories, lands that used to be Mexico. And my introduction, my favorite drink was agua de Jamaica. And so I would go to get my tacos, to get my burritos, to get whatever it is that I wanted because I love Mexican food and Mexican culture and Mexican people. And I would always get this drink, agua de Jamaica. And I got so good at saying it too because I didn't want to mess it up. But what I did not know was that red drink was called agua de Jamaica because it was the water of the Jamaicans. And it was because those Jamaican immigrants were able or before before they were taken to Jamaica, they were able to take the seeds of the hibiscus flower, and when they landed in Jamaica, they were able to cultivate those seeds. And when they traveled to other places in the Caribbean, they took those seeds with them. And this is one of the ways that hibiscus got spread throughout Latin America, was from formerly enslaved Black people, right? Caribbeans, Jamaicans. And so the name is the water of the Jamaicans. And so when it comes to who we are as Black people, but also what it means to be together here on Turtle Island, irrespective of your body, right? Is that we all have so much to learn from each other. And I was able to find my way back home to Africa through Mexico, right? So let's talk a little bit more about working the roots, right? Working the medicine way of hibiscus. We have the recipe. Now, what's really important for you to know about me is that I'm a medicine maker, all right? And so how we craft things tells us a story about what it means and what it's doing for our bodies medicinally. And so the recipe we're working with is called Zobo. Okay, we're doing Zobo. And Zobo is really special because it has some ingredients that I want to tell you about. So I told you all that I tell you a little bit about the power of sour, okay? One of the most powerful things that the sour flavor can offer us is that when a food is sour, it's often because of the presence of different organic acids. So the organic acids in apples are called malic acid. The acid in vinegar is acetic acid. The acid in lemons is called citric acid, and that acid often comes with absorbic acid, which is vitamin C. So hibiscus is a sour drink. And that sourness tells us that there's a presence of often some vitamin C in there. But sour does some really interesting things to our body. Sour has a quality of astringing. It's like when you get that lemon in your mouth and you kind of pucker your face up. Sour is an astringent, and it's able to bring sort of tissues together. But one of the things it does energetically is that sour is cooling. Not only is sour anti-inflammatory, like as in vitamin C, but sour can cool the body down. And so this drink, okay, the reason why it's made in all over Africa in places where it's hot, all over Hawaii, all over Asia, right? There's such huge hibiscus culture in India, all right? It's because this is a drink that actually can cool you down. And it is so cooling that it can overcool you. It can overcool your digestive system, leading to symptoms like diarrhea. Now, nobody in the world has died from constipation, but diarrhea is one of the #1 causes of death for children globally. And so our ancestors were very, very wise. Wherever they were serving the hibiscus drink, they are often serving it with warming ingredients. So here we see the ginger, right, which is one of the most warming ingredients. It speaks to the stomach, spleen, organ system. Okay, we have cloves, which is a kidney yang tonic, and cinnamon sticks. All of these really spicy things helps to balance the coolness of the hibiscus drink so that it does not run out of our bodies, right? And what's more, and why I chose this Zobo recipe is because for me in Colorado, okay, even the ginger, even the cinnamon, even the cloves, it's still too cold for me. So hibiscus is not a drink that I can have in the fall or in the winter because it's simply too cold. But the addition of the chili is my favorite reason why I chose this Zobo recipe, because that amount of heat heated it up just enough so that it's warm enough for me. And so what's interesting is that depending on your genetics and your ancestry, you're going to desire a different level of heat. If you come from a cold weather place, or if you live in a cold weather place like me, then you're probably not going to want all the spices, right? It's going to be, oh, or you're probably going to want more spices or not, depending on your constitution. Um, and so for this recipe, we got some pineapple. And I really love the pineapple recipe because it really allows, in this recipe, because it allows me to connect back with the people who introduced hibiscus to me, which are folks in Mexico. And so what's fascinating about the pineapple is that pineapples are rich in a constituent called bromelain, and bromelain can help us to dissolve proteins. It's been used in traditional medicine to help with protein digestion, overall digestion, and other digestive complaints. Um, a lot of raw foodists talk about like they eat raw food because of the enzymes, right? But your body destroys all enzymes, period, because we are enzymatic based beings. So we don't want any foreign enzymes in our body. They're gone. But there are 3 plants whose enzymes can actually survive our digestive tract. One of them is pineapple, one of them is kiwi, and the other one is papaya with papain. All right. And so if we're looking for the bromelain, right, it's actually going to be in the skin of the pineapple, and it's going to be in the core. It's going to be at the very top where the hair is coming out, and it's going to be that hair itself. I know it's not hair, but it's easy for me to think of it like a head. And so, one of the interesting things that I really learned about this recipe, and as I've been playing with it, is cross-analyzing it with the indigenous drink tepache. Okay, and I'm probably pronouncing that poorly, but I love it anyways. And tepache is a drink where they actually ferment the pineapple itself, and they use these exact ingredients, including the panela. Now, why am I going to talk about panela? Again, it's referencing Mexican food culture and Central American food culture, um, because I'm honoring my lineage of the drink, but also we have been taught that sugar is the devil. We have been taught that sugar is unmistakably harmful to us. And the truth of the matter is that white sugar is. The truth of the matter is that sugar that is lacking in soul hurts our soul. Empty sugar causes our bodies to crave it. Empty sugar empties us of our nutrients. Empty sugar has us lose our mind. But when we work with sugar in its whole form, like jaggery, like panela, like rapadura, right? These whole forms of sugar where the minerals are still attached, it actually impacts our blood sugar and our metabolism in a totally different way. And so I do want you to go out of your way to get some piloncillo for this recipe, some panela for this recipe, some jaggery for this recipe, because that whole sugar is going to shift and contribute to some of the nutrient qualities that we're trying to cultivate here. Some of the pattern languages of hibiscus that we've seen everywhere, and the reason why, listen, if 20 food cultures around the planet, if every continent adapts a plant, okay, then that tells you that that plant is doing something. Right now in the United States, people of color are impacted very heavily. We like to talk about sort of the combination of the diseases and experiences we have to accumulate in what we call metabolic syndrome. So, metabolic syndrome includes things like obesity, high blood pressure, which is also called hypertension, diabetes, and sugar imbalances in metabolism. And so, it's a whole pattern of ways of being. Most of these things, though, are more strongly corresponding to stress than they are to the foods we eat. And what I find to be fascinating is that the foods that these cultures of color have chosen are active against the kinds of metabolic diseases that we are experiencing. And so I chose this research right here from 2010. It's a little older, but I chose it because it's placebo-controlled, double-blind, and randomized, which is the gold standard for research. And it shows, as you can see in this draft, that after 3 weeks of time, you can see that hibiscus is actually able to lower blood pressure pretty significantly compared to the placebo, and that's only for 3 cups a day. These results were amplified when the drink was consumed warm. Why might that be? Why might a warm hibiscus drink be more powerful at tackling hypertension? Who has an idea? Juju. Hi, boo boo.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
It's my pleasure. I'm gonna toss my hand in. Is it because of absorption? Does it have to deal with an absorption?
Okay, I like that. We can make that work. Yes, in general, warm drinks are more diuresis. Fascinating. You're onto something. Warm drinks are going to be more supportive of our stomach spleen, right? Which prefers warm beverages. A lot of the health issues that we experience can be resolved by stop drinking cold ass drinks. Okay, so yes, we are better able to digest and assimilate warm drinks. The other reason, though, is because of the vasodilating impact of warm beverages. So even warm water is going to help open up your arteries and to move blood even quicker. So that's one of the reasons. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of the healing qualities of hibiscus and why all over the world, folks of color are using this drink. The biggest thing is selenium. Now, I am an herbal nutritionist, and what that means is that I have learned how to extract the minerals from plants instead of supplements. Okay. And so understanding the minerals in plants helps us to understand the other active constituents in plants and puts it in a more holistic framework. So hibiscus is the highest plant source. All right, you're not going to find this USDA. You got to really search for plant minerals, but it is the highest plant source of selenium and chromium in the herbal plant world. Okay. Selenium is a master antioxidant in the body. It is involved in over 200 reactions. Selenium not only protects our DNA, but protects the ability of our DNA to be passed down. Okay? Selenium is active and supportive of sexual reproduction in all males and in all females and in all intersexed people. Selenium is one of the most powerful antioxidants that we have access to, and it helps to protect us from not only things like advanced glycation end products, which if we will talk a lot about that when it comes to fried food, but thinking about people of color are often placed in environments that have a disproportionate amount of toxicity, whether that's Cancer Alley, right? On the Gulf Coast, or rather that's Suncor polluting our air here in Colorado. And so if we have plant medicines that are already from our culture, that are able to protect our DNA from damage, right, from all of these harmful constituents, then we have a gold mine that helps us to better adapt to even the worst conditions that we have been forced to experience here. Okay. Selenium. And when we get our selenium not from a pill, when we get it from a plant, It also comes with its cofactors that help to amplify its results. So even if the selenium in hibiscus is maybe 4 milligrams compared to a pill that has 20 milligrams, the selenium in the hibiscus is going to be far more bioavailable because of its cofactors, but also because of it's going to be in the exact form that our bodies need to use it in. Okay, so chromium. Chromium is the most important. I said the, and you can come for me, but it is the most important mineral when it comes to metabolism and metabolic health. Chromium supports the utilization of insulin, right? It helps us. So it helps us to shuttle insulin into our cells. It supports fat and carbohydrate metabolism, i.e., helping us to lower the ways that our blood glucose may spike after a meal. Chromium can decrease those spikes. It also supports fat metabolism, not only working with the bile that we produce in our gallbladder to help sort of capture and, I don't know, like soap saphenate, I don't know, work the fats, but it supports sort of the metabolism of fat as well. Chromium has also been shown to help increase lean mass and decrease body fat itself. Now, we believe in health at every size. We're not about dieting and da 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 da. And the high amounts of chromium combined with the selenium make this plant a powerhouse against the metabolic diseases that our communities experience, right? This is incredible. The fact that this is the highest plant source of both of these things, and the fact that historically, when we look at the health outcomes that folks are experiencing, we now understand why folks of culture are reaching for the red drink. We are reaching for the exact medicine that we need to survive here. And speaking of red, the color red, traditionally, not the red 40 in your hot Cheetos, no shade. Red 40 is trash, okay? It's just trash because the color red indicates the presence of anthocyanins. Okay. Red can indicate the color, the presence of carotenoids, right? Or anthocyanins. And so every single food in your refrigerator, if it's natural, right? If it's a plant and it's natural and it's red, it's probably going to have similar constituents than the other red things. Color is not just our ancestors like trying to grasp onto a memory. Color is actually information. And that's the reason why these companies are using dyes in the first place. Okay. If your chicken eggs are pale and yellow and water, there's no keratin, there's no lutein in those eggs, right? The deeper that orange, the higher the presence of carotenoids and lutein being one of them. All right. So color is everything when it comes to food as medicine, when it comes to our well-being. If we simply eat to color, then we can guide our health really effectively. The catch is that they've tricked us with fake colors, fake flavors, right? And so we are not wrong for reaching for the red drink. It is wrong that we live in a country where they're allowed to poison our food and confuse our bodies, which are wise. Okay. So when it comes to some of the medicinal qualities of red drinks, why it is that we consistently reach for the red drink, it is not out of ignorance. It is not simply because it's a cultural retention. It is because we inherently know what will give us the healing that we deserve. And because we have access to our ancestors, because we have access to folks globally, right? We have access to our allies, our neighbors, right? Our people from all over the world. we can now see that all the ancestors are speaking the exact same language and have prepared us for the harms of industrialization with a drink that helps to prevent the worst of those outcomes. Okay. And so that was a lot. And what we really want you to get is that A, you're already smart. B, our ancestors knew exactly what they were up to. And C, this system is trying to kill us. Okay. But thank goodness that we have our ancestors, because all we have to do is go back and get it. We don't need any new stuff. We don't need their pills. We don't need their supplements. We don't need it. Okay, we love pharmaceuticals, first of all, because some people really need them. And if we can access the food as medicine, it can complement the work that we do with pharmaceutical medicine as well. But supplements, we don't need that. We got herbs. Okay. So that's what I'll share for now. Justin, is there anything else that you wanted to circle back to?
Yes. I'll mention this about my own relationship to hibiscus. When me and my partner were trying to get pregnant, we had a difficult conception. I started drinking hibiscus like it was my job. And literally the next round, when it was time to sort of start again, pregnant. Right? Part of this is that people who have male bodies need more selenium, right? Because all of our selenium, or almost all of our selenium, is stored in our reproductive organs. And so, as Aja already said, it helps to clear up free radicals that are hanging around in our body. Helps to it antioxidizes. So think about oxidation in your body as rust, right? Rust is oxidation on metal, right? So think about oxidation as rust on your bodies. So imagine that once you drink hibiscus, you are scrubbing away on the rust that is inside of your body. Okay, that's a way to think about it. So just from a conception standpoint, from a reproductive standpoint, hibiscus is where it's at. The other thing I will say is that Aja talks a lot about this, is to introduce you to the concept of a tonic. A tonic is a kind of, it's in the realm of medicinal, so medicinals. So you can think about tinctures and pills and all kinds of other ways of ingesting medicine. Tonic is the one that you can take regularly, okay, with no ill effects, no side effects. So there are some herbal medicines that you cannot take regularly and that you absolutely should not take regularly. Tonic is the thing that you can have on a regular basis. Hibiscus in all of its different forms would be considered a tonic. And if you remember recalling the study, that was 3 cups per day, right? So that's a lot. That is more powerful medicines could not be taken that frequently. Okay, so this is a tonic. It is medicines in small enough doses, but frequently to support your overall health. Okay, this is the food as medicine piece. This is when we talk about food as medicine, we mean that the food is a tonic, right? And tonic is a class of medicinal preparations.
That's right. And it also means that it's safe, y'all. A lot of people are afraid of herbs. But if there's an herb like hibiscus that's used all over the globe by people with different bodies, different races, different locations, and they're drinking it every day, we know that it is okay. So you don't have to be afraid of working with hibiscus, period. It is safe. And that's the most important thing, is that it is so safe, it is so food safe, that it does not negatively interact with the kinds of medications that people are already taking. It enhances their action so that they can use less of them. Okay? So now we really want to bring you all into the space. We really want to hear our question for you, and is what's here now? We really shared quite a bit. We talked about the minerals, some research, some of the important parts of sour and how to balance sour with heat. We talked about the names and the plant parts that we use to harvest, some of the ethnobotany. We talked about the history of Kool-Aid. Okay. We've talked about so much today. So I would love to hear from one of you. What is here now for you that was not here before?
Hey Asia, this is Tariq.
Hi, Tariq.
Hey, I'm in Colorado. I'm in Boulder. I'm flying. I'm headed to my hotel. It's just funny that I'm here at the same time, you know. So love to love to you, love to Justin. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. I'll even, hop on, see if you can get me on video. Actually, no, you can't get me, so it's okay. All right. So for me, um, it's always was funny to me how much I loved, agua de Jamaica growing up. Um, and I would always splash pineapple juice in it. And it's just funny how my ancestors speak so directly to me. Um, it's comical, how direct the messages are for the ingredients that I choose to put in my stuff. And I'm really excited about the Soul Food Genius course because it reminds me of my connection to porridge and why I love cream of wheat so damn much. And it brings me to the fact that I've always loved the complex flavor of brown sugars, right? Unrefined sugars. And when you help me out with the piloncillo and the panela stuff, I want to know, does raw cane sugar in general offer the same uh, properties,
No, baby.
or do I need to get it straight from piloncillo
No. So
or jaggery?
yeah, so one of my favorite things is the nutrition facts, honey. They got all these sugars on the market. They're all BS, period. I don't care if it's brown. All you need to do is look at the minerals, okay? The best sugar has zinc, it has magnesium, it has iron. If you get the raw sugar from the store
Damn,
and it don't got nothing
yeah,
in it, it's gonna hurt your blood. Okay.
damn, okay,
So
wow,
yeah, so it's just a marketing ploy. It's not any better for you. No. One of the things that you could do is you can add molasses too. If you're using white sugar, that's all you got, no shade. You can always add molasses. Molasses is one of the most used sources
I
of
do that. I do that.
you got it.
I can't believe that I'm telling these answers be speaking because they're almost like, okay, I'll add a little blackstrap molasses to this motherfucker,
That's
or
right.
I'll add some date syrup to this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
thank you.
Exactly. That's where the minerals are. The minerals are in the molasses because they stole it from the sugar, right? Sugar,
Yeah, yeah.
the whole white sugar thing is racismo, okay?
No question.
And it has caused harm, right? To separate the black from the white has caused harm
Oof,
to all the bodies.
oof.
So sometimes we have to add the black back in order to make it whole, or we can buy the already whole sugars, the piloncillo, the jaggery, and the panela. Okay.
Perfect.
There's
Yes, ma'am.
more, but those are the ones that's in my kitchen right now. All right. I'm not playing. There's a
I know
brand called panela, and I love them. And you check the nutrition facts and the minerals are there. That's how you know. That's all you need to do is check the nutrition. Don't let nobody market you about your
it. Okay.
sugar.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Asia.
Yeah.
It also, for the people that haven't tasted it, it tastes 100 times better. It's
Oh,
just the best tasting thing you've ever had. So love y'all. Thank you so much.
thanks, Tariq. Yeah. Who else would like to come into the space and share what's here now for you that maybe wasn't here before? We got some beautiful things in the chat. Karina says a pregnant woman told me she was told she shouldn't drink hibiscus. She didn't give me an answer as to why. Do you know where that fear/warning comes from? It's interesting. You know, sometimes you can tell which herbs are really powerful by what herbs are listed as contraindications. So, first of all, never take any advice about herbs from someone who's not an herbalist, and that includes doctors, because doctors are not trained in herbal medicine. Doctors are trained in pharmacology. And so when they see the presence of one compound in a plant, they're thinking of how one compound in a pill works. And so they will often mistakenly assume that that one plant compound is going to act like a pharmaceutical and move in one direction of action and cause a harm. But because plants have hundreds of compounds all interacting with each other, one single compound does not have the predicted outcome. You cannot reduce an herb to a single compound. And sometimes when a drug does a thing and a plant does a thing, they're going to encourage you not to work with the plant. But that also lets you know that the plant can resolve the issue, right? My school of herbal medicine, we use drugs and plants concurrently. And so, for example, if you must take an antibiotic, which means something emergency is happening, maybe you have a really hard STI, we would have you work with the antibiotic and the antibiotic herb at the same time. Okay? And so sometimes people have a lot of fear about plants because they're thinking about how pharmaceuticals work, and pharmaceuticals are truly dangerous. That's why only doctors can prescribe them. But plants are safe, and they often have compounds and constituents that counteract any harmful constituent that might be there. We know that hibiscus is safe. We know that it has a history of use for pregnant people all around the globe for thousands of years. That data is stronger than any data. It's proven by the people. Okay? So it's important to recognize that not all people are qualified to actually talk about plants, because sometimes the worldview does not allow for the way that plants work in the bodies. And that's not bad, but it's important to understand that plants are not drugs. They're not. Okay? So wonderful questions. Who else wants to come into the space and share what's here now for you? We're going to check into the chat. India says, ownership. I feel more connected to the color red, and this gives a deeper connection to the red color with Juneteenth. Okay. And so Courtney and Dr. Elizabeth are talking about blood pressure in the chat. That's why you can't take BSO with blood pressure reduction meds, because it will make your blood pressure super low. That's right. And that's why, as an herbalist, we work with doctors so that we're able to lower the drug and increase the herb at the same time, right? And that's why we have to have an herbal medicine that's in relationship with all the forms of medicine, because we want to also include that we all have different skills and resources. Okay, so these are really great. We call it integrated herbal medicine. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the recording here.